Willie D. Live.
We got a top FBI official labeled Antifa as the top domestic terrorist threat facing the United States. But here's the deal, fam. He could not answer basic details about the movement and its structure. Michael Glasheen, a longtime FBI agent, serving as operations director of the National Security Branch, called the movement the agency's primary concern right now during a hearing before the House Committee on Homeland Security. Check this out, fam.
Executive Order Domestic Terrorist Organization, Antifa. That's our primary concern right now.
All right, that's what President Trump did. What does the FBI say?
We share the same view. When you look at the data right now, you look at the domestic terrorist threat that we're facing. Right now, what I see from my position is that's the most immediate violent threat that we're facing on the domestic side.
So where is Antifa headquartered?
What we're doing right now with the organization.
Where in the United States does Antifa exist?
Yeah.
If it's a terrorist organization and you've identified it as number one.
We are building out the infrastructure right now.
So what does that mean? We're trying to get the information. You say Antifa is a terrorist organization. Tell us as a committee, how did you come to that? Where do they exist? How many members do they have in the United States as of right now?
Well, that's very fluid. It's ongoing for us to understand that. The same, no different than Al Qaeda and ISIS.
No, I don't want you. I'll ask one question, sir. I just want you to tell us. If you said Antifa is the number one domestic terrorist organization operating in the United States, I just need to know where they are, how many people. I don't want a name. I don't want anything like that. Just how many people have you identified with the FBI that Antifa is made of?
Well, the investigations are active.
So you wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove. I know you wouldn't do that. But you did.
Sir, you wouldn't come here. You wouldn't come here, but you did. I just wanted to let y'all know, fam, for the record, being an anti-fascist is not illegal. However, lying to Congress is a felony. Y'all think he's going to be charged? You think they'll charge him? Being an anti-fascist is not illegal, but lying to Congress is illegal. You say, I know you wouldn't do that, but you did. You know, they did the same thing to the Black Panthers, but they didn't have opposition like that. You know, they didn't have members of Congress or any committee opposing when they said that the Black Panthers were, or any Black organization was the number one domestic terrorist threat. But yet, they never identified in over 150 years of the KKK being in existence. They have yet to identify the KKK as a terrorist organization. Instead, you know what they did? They gave them a tax exemption status and as a religious organization right here in America, an organization that was founded in 1865, immediately after the Declaration of Independence was declared. these uncivilized mutts started the KKK. And let me tell you who some of the members were. Police officers, elected officials, businessmen, prominent members of society, judges, prosecutors, the local barber, the blacksmith, the bankers, all of them were KKK members. The KKK membership has always been diverse. They'll have us believe that the KKK is full of a bunch of rednecks, toothless rednecks, with a first grade education. Now, don't get me wrong, it is. It is full of a bunch of toothless rednecks with a first grade education. But it's also filled with so-called respectable members of society. We're talking doctors also, family. We're talking doctors, educators. These uncivilized mutts would go into so-called polite society and do their business. And after they finished their business, they would get drunk and ride. They get drunk, they get high, and they ride. They go find black people to lynch. This is what they did. If they wanted sex and they were tired of getting it from their wife or their daughters and they couldn't get it, or they couldn't get it at all, she wasn't having it, they just go and find a black girl or black woman. Some of them like men, so they'll find a little black boy or black man and have their way with it. That happened. So when they say make America great again, that's really what they mean. That's really what they mean. Antifa is not the greatest domestic threat in America. The greatest domestic threat in America are young white males in their 20s and 30s. They're the biggest threats because they are the ones who keep stepping out committing mass suicide. In fact, I won't put it all on them though. Police officers are a big threat to America. Police, in fact, I think the police might be the greatest threat, might be the greatest domestic terrorist threat, because they kick up more dust on a daily basis and they have the power and authority to get away with a lot of what they do. The uncivilized mutt mass shooter typically gets caught, goes to jail, or dies, typically. But the cop continues to ride, destroying thousands of lives, and they get to ride. They get promotions, they get raises. Yeah. Some of them got multiple kills under their belt. And all of the people they killed were non-white. Yeah. That's what's going on right here. So while they're quick to identify any type of organization that might be riding in the name of equity, inclusion, diversity, they're very slow to identify any one of those organizations like the KKK or the Proud Boys and any neo-Nazi you can pick out. Any neo-Nazi organization, they're very slow to identify them as terrorist organizations. I wonder why. Why? Have you ever asked your government? Have you ever asked your local politicians? Have you ever asked members of Congress, why do they allow the KKK to exist? And why haven't they been identified as a terrorist organization? And why hasn't the FBI used its resources to bring them down, to shut them down? Why haven't they done that? Their record is clear. They have a very clear record of what they do and what they're about. The rhetoric that you hear from them on a daily basis, they tell you all the time, this is what we are. We hate y'all. We hate y'all. We hate y'all. And they promote murder. They promote chaos. They promote overtaking the government. They promote these things. This is the stuff they promote. You never heard the Black Panther talking about overtaking the government, overthrowing the government. You never heard that. But yet, none of these organizations have ever been identified as a terrorist organization. I think at one point they may have identified one of those groups as a terrorist organization. They turned it around and took it off the list. They took it off the list. So if you are an organization, you're part of an organization that is uplifting Black people, trying to protect Black people, or put the message out in a positive way, you're trying to help in any kind of way. If you're trying to, even if it's about getting health care and going to school and job initiatives, anything along those lines, you're probably going to be identified as a terrorist organization.